Good morning everyone, welcome to my video. This is video number 10. Okay, so I'm thinking about doing the heart this time, and I've got a plan and everything was going along with this plan, and then at the last moment, like I even threaded the needle and I was going to start, I had another idea. So what I'm going to do with the start of this video is tell you my plan for the heart. Then I'm going to tell you my idea, and by maybe talking it through with you might help me to decide what I actually do, because the idea could be used elsewhere, but it definitely has to be included somewhere on the panel because it's been with me for a little bit of time. So let's start at the beginning. My plan with the heart was to do a heap of these little flowers which would link the flowers we've put elsewhere throughout the background. And that was draw the shape and then couch around the little petal with the red DMC cotton, and then using a white overcast stitch couch these down. So this would be like the collection of little flowers, and then a few of them were drifting elsewhere. So I sort of had a story in my head as to justify why I was doing this particular design. And then I thought in the background around the flowers, I could do some seed stitch, whether it be a red or another color. That I wasn't sure yet until I got the flowers into position. Then the bow. Now this bow is a bit of a signature to Jessie's work. In a lot of her work you'll see this style of bow. So we certainly had to do something a little bit special with the bow. And my thoughts were to use this fabric, which is part of our Tilda collection, to create the bow. And I was going to have a go at doing a needle turn bow, so that I'd cut the piece, allow a little extra, and then turn that edge under and slip stitch it down. So that would give the bow a little bit of a three-dimensional feeling about it, nice and puffy. So I thought that would look really cute. Then I started thinking about the perimeter of the heart, and I went hunting for some lace that I could potentially stitch down on the edge of the heart. So it would be very red and white and blues, and I think it would look gorgeous. Then I found this trim. Now it's funny because a friend of mine said to me a couple of weeks ago, do you know where everything is in your craft room and can you put your hand on it? And I said, yes, no problems. And I even went around verbally and pointed to each section of the room and said, over there's the buttons, over there is this, over there's that. And I thought to myself, yeah, I do. I know where everything is. Well, yesterday I was hunting for something and I found this, and I'm thinking, well, looks like I don't know where everything is. The colors match beautifully. It also matches the shape of our little timber heart. So we've got a bit of continuity here in design. So I thought, oh, fantastic. I could do some embroidered couched edged hearts, flowers in the heart, and then pop the odd real flower in. So this was really starting to take shape. The lace around the outer edge, I had a crazy idea of even, excuse me, using our blue thread, which is our primary outline thread, the big roll. I was going to weave the thread through this lace, which would give us the outline of the blue heart within the lace. So I was chuffed. I was ready. And off we were going to the races with this idea all nutted out. Okay, so that then would give me the blue through the lace around the edge and wrapped. Yes, it's a go. But then in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about a floral piece embroidered, which I really want to do. And I've got this little piece that I picked up right at the very beginning, and I'd popped it in the box to do with this project. And I thought somewhere I'm going to embroider this piece into position somewhere and then highlight all of the floral pieces within it and the leaves, and yeah, beautiful. I love doing this type of thing. So this was sort of kicking around and I'm thinking, okay, what if I do something like that on the heart? So let's just for a moment forget about everything I just said. Idea number one, move it out of the way. I come back to the heart and I'm thinking, all right, if I do something like a piece of embroidery, not 100% sure that that's the right piece, it probably is okay. I then went back through the Tilda fabric and I knew I'd had some panels that had just some beautiful bouquets of flowers. I'm just grabbing the pieces. So these are part of the pack. So they were also in the back of my mind to embroider. So there's a green one, the purple, a blue, and then the grey. So I started thinking about this, and this is where it all went off the rails. So, oh boy. But I'm sure by the time I talk this through with you, we'll have a decision. Okay, so I then thought, well, the grey's the one that really spoke to me because the colours seem to be quite predominant in it to match the colours that I'm sort of using, nice and strong, and that reddy, pinky, raspberry red sort of really fitted. So the plan was to maybe consider cutting out the bouquet here, that's the bottom of it, and placing it on here and embroidering it. But it's such a big bouquet and the heart's probably not big enough, and then this bow doesn't seem right. So then I thought, well, okay, I can put the bow somewhere else. I don't have to have the bow there. So I started thinking about the whole heart would be one piece of fabric and then I embroider it, which sort of opened up lots of opportunities then. And you can see where this is going all pear-shaped on me, considering I had a perfectly good idea. So I started playing around with the new idea. So I got some greaseproof paper and I thought, well, if I'm going to cover the whole heart, I need to find a print that is perfect for this shape so that I got plenty of space to do what I need to do. I can still needle turn the bow, the heart, so that I get a soft edge and then embroider away. So I did that shape. I then come to my fabric and started laying it on to underneath the heart, and if I was to cut that out, it would work, even at a slight angle, so that I got this rosebud at the top. There's a rose and then a cluster. It would work. So I was thinking, I'm going to change my direction here. Then I started thinking that maybe these flowers didn't really suit the piece because they're probably what I'd call a little bit romantic, a little bit 1800s, where our work so far, and even those are to a little bit, our work so far is a little bit cartoon-like. I'll just slide that up. If we look at this flower, it's a little bit simple, cartoony, primary, basic design. There's no real depth in shading or colours like this bouquet of flowers. So if I was to embroider them, there would be all this detail in here of to create those roses properly. So in thinking like that about my actual piece and this piece of fabric, I quickly eliminated it because it just doesn't match. It's, even though it's part of the Tilda design, it just doesn't match. So that got rid of that idea. So I'm thinking, okay, back to the heart. We know what we're doing, away we go. But it just kept coming back to my mind. I'm thinking, this little piece, it's only small, it could easily work in. I could do lace, ribbons, all sorts. So this little piece is still very much going somewhere, hopefully. Even if it doesn't go on the design, it could potentially just go up on the border and be embroidered. Actually, now that I say that out loud, I actually like that idea. So I'm going to pin it right there. There you go. There's a decision. Whether it stays there or not. Oh, I'm just looking at the clock because that covers that design there. Oh gosh, here we go. We're heading in another direction again. This clock has what I call a blank space here. So in my mind, weeks ago, it would just be a cluster of doilies building there to sort of absorb that bit of air, so to speak. But I'm wondering if this would work. Yeah, I'm really liking that. Okay, we're going to pin that there for now. And, oh goodness, I've just made a decision. There you go. That is going to be embroidered there at a later date. Well, maybe. I think it will. Oh, who knows? That's the thing I love about these pieces, is you can spend days just thinking about it, planning it, picturing it in your mind, hunting through your treasures to see what matches, what could work, having a good think about the design element. What has the artist given us? What has Jessie drawn here? How does that impact the materials we use and select? So it's not just the making of the piece or the embroidering or the whatever you decide to do. It's the steps leading up to it, the decision making. That is what I love about doing these panels, because you just never know where you're going to go, and it sort of tests your mind a little bit. Anyway, I'm being philosophical now. Let's get back to this heart. So I've got a template. I'm still thinking I want to do some embroidered floral something somewhere. We've decided that these really don't suit the style of our panel. So I went looking for a better option, and I found this. Now, it's a motor fabric. I'm not 100% sure of the name of it. I think it's got the word Admiral in it, or French Admiral, I think. I've used it before in my red workbook. I love the simplicity of these floral pieces within it. And they're also great for embroidering because they're not too dense. They're not too, you know, hard to get detail in your flower without it looking muddy like that other print might become. So I went hunting and found this. Not only do the colors match, they even match this braid that I've found, but they're the lines, they're simple. The tones of the leaves are in the olives that we've used. Like, this piece of fabric, I think, matches this panel. So, using my heart, I started to place it on this floral piece here to see if I could make it work, and I can. And I'd even get some butterflies in the piece. So I'd cut it out maybe 1/4 of an inch even bigger, needle turn it into position, and then I could embroider these flowers in the center of the heart. So that's where I'm thinking. Now, because we have a Jessie bow here, which I just do not want to lose, before I go too much further, I've traced it. I've popped some tracing paper on. Oh, it's greaseproof paper, and just with a pencil drawn around it. So that way, if this panel or this heart gets completely covered, I have a bow of Jessie's that I need to put somewhere. I don't want to lose this design element. And looking at my piece with not a lot of space and houses and a sun and some boats, the bow really only has one opportunity, and I'm just going to move this panel a little bit. It's the dress. So that started me thinking about the dress. So the bow and the dress are nearly my last spaces to do something nearly similar, because they've got that feminine touch. It's not a house, it's not a clock, it's not a boat. So the bow could potentially be added to the dress as a puffy little piece on the dress. So that's sort of where I started thinking next. So the floral treatment would go up here. The bow would come down to the dress. What I did underneath the dress is not sure yet. It'd be something. Then I started thinking about this skirt, and I thought, well, if I'm going to embroider flowers somewhere, the option is the skirt. It's a better shape for flowers because it's quite a large area. So, oh gosh, can you see where we're going here? We're heading into a mess. It's two pieces of this design, the skirt and the heart, are sort of being connected. So I really need to work out what exactly I'm going to do here. So I traced the skirt now, and that would be the shape needed if I was to put this fabric on the skirt. So I have placed it on here, and I've worked out that if I put it at a slight angle, I can get that piece on the skirt as well. So then I started thinking, okay, well, if the skirt became an embroidered piece, I haven't cut this little floral bit out yet because, like I said, I'm still tossing it around. I want to just make this piece of fabric feel a little bit smaller, because I guess the question now with the skirt is this floral print too big for the skirt? Because it potentially is going to overpower the whole design. Like if you were wearing this and you had a floral print as big as this and then your tiny little bodice at the top, it probably would look a little odd. So does the design element that applies to clothing in the real size apply to this? Probably not. I'm probably really overthinking this. But there's an opportunity to put this embroidered piece here. But that then opens up a can of worms for the bodice. How do I marry the bodice into here seamlessly? So can you see my issues? So yeah. Okay. Now that I've said that all aloud, I've just made a decision. I'm going to use this on the heart and make it this gorgeous embroidered piece at the top of the panel. I don't have any sizing issues. I know it fits. I know it'll look gorgeous. That is going up there as an embroidered feature. Will I put lace around the outer edge of the heart? I don't know until that sort of comes to light and it's in position. I won't really know how I will finish the heart, but I have just made a decision. That's going there. Now we have a bow that can't be lost, and the only other place it can go, I think, is on the skirt as a bit of a feature for her belt, which I think will work beautifully. I do have a little flower here, but if I make that a button, the bow can go into position and the button could just sit off to the one side and not be too much of an impact on the bow. So I think that'll work. It'll give a nice 3D element to her little dress. It's in proportion, even though it is oversized, it's in proportion to her little dress. So, okay. Oh, there, the needle is another consideration. If I had embroidered all that, I'd have this needle coming through as well. I think it'll work there. So that's the plan. I'll keep my template for the skirt itself because I'll probably put a fabric there from the Tilda range. I'll then put the bow into position and then do something for her bodice. So, okay, you've just had a preview of video number 11. It'll be the dress and these elements will start to come together here. And in the meantime, we will go back to the floral idea up here and use that as my panel for the heart. I think that is what I want to do. Oh, I don't know. Yes. Okay. I'm going to stop the video here. I've rambled for nearly 20 minutes, but I think I have made some decisions. I'm just going to take a breath now and have a think about it have a good look at the panel. Yeah, just make sure it's exactly where I go. So, okay, we'll leave it at that. Oh, nothing like working out design. It's just so much fun. It can be torture, but it's fun. Okay, everyone, I shall stop the video, and when I come back, you will see what happened and how the story finished. Okay, everyone, talk to you all soon. Bye. Hello, everyone, I'm back. Okay, decisions have been made. I'm committed. I'm moving forward. A day has gone by of sort of thinking and tossing around my embroidered flower idea, as well as the original I had here. And as you can see, I'm back to the first idea. Sometimes the first ideas are the best, and you need to just stop thinking about it all and stick to your plan. So the dress is going to be the embroidered piece. I mentioned that I was concerned about the size of the print versus the size of the bodice and dress and that. And I thought, well, why am I even considering that? Because we have a boat in here as well. It's very random, this piece, and it does not matter. I was just overthinking it. So this is going to be put to one side, and it will be video number 11, where we work the actual dress. So I'm just going to leave that for a moment. And we're back to our original idea, where I'm going to do something decorative with this floral treatment. I will bring in the somehow the little flowers that I found, because they're just too close to the shape to not use them. I'll do something to the background, and I will do a feature around the outer edge of the heart, which I'm 99% sure it will be this lace, and then weave through the thread to bring in the a nice predominant heart shape around the outer edge. So it should come together fine. The tricky bit that I've got to work on is this bow, and I really wanted to do a needle turned bow, and I think that's probably more Jessie style. The flowers that we did here in the center, I just placed the fabric down and then just stitched it down with an overcast stitch. But this bow I want to make true to Jessie. It's her signature, so to speak, and she does a lot of needle turn applique in her work. So, and I haven't done needle turn for a little while, so I thought this will be a bit of fun. So I sketched the bow, which I showed you a few minutes ago. I've then cut it into components ready to be stitched. I've allowed a little extra of fabric around the piece of baking paper, and that little edge then will allow me to gently turn it under as I go and stitch down the piece. So I've broken the bow down into the two top pieces, and then these will be the two little tails that'll come in here. And then to give it a little highlight in the center, there'll be a little red piece of fabric popped in the center of the bow. Let me just bring that up to the camera. I just found a little snippet, and there's the template from Jessie's sketch in the center. So as you can see, once again, I just allowed that little extra allowance around the outer edge, so that as I work around, I can you know, stitch that raw edge under, so it'll be nice and secure, and that helps give the bow a little bit of a three-dimensional feel. So I'm just popping these pieces to one side. They can stay there until I need them. And what I thought I might do is just show you roughly how I do this little stitch. So if you haven't done needle turned edges before, this is how I do it. I'm not 100% sure it's the correct way, but from every time I've tried it, it seems to have worked and it's held. So this is how I'm going to do it. The other thing I did have to consider was this doily at the top here. I'd popped it in ages ago, and it is going to cover the bow. So I thought, well, what can I do? I don't want to cut it because that sort of just ruins a gorgeous piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the doily back with a little pinch, allow it to sit in its own space, bringing it back a little bit. It won't matter that there's this little bit of bulk now being created in this corner. Won't matter in the least, because what I'll do is I'll probably do some form of embellishment up there anyway. So I might fill it full of yo-yo flowers, or you know, something that'll give the top corner of this panel a lovely little feature. So I'm just going to pin it back out of my way for now. It can just be turned back, but there's definitely a solution for that piece to get it back away to give a little bit of air around my heart here. Okay, so I've got my needle and thread. Let's get into position here so that you can see. I've got my needle and thread, that's the template, underneath, ready to go. Let's see if I can get this into the film. Yep, okay. So in under there is the edge of the bow. So that's where we're heading for the line where we want to aim for. So it's just a case now of bringing my needle up. Where am I? I'm in that corner. I hope you can see this. Bringing my needle up right on Jessie's sketch line, and I've folded my fabric just to cover the sketch line. I don't want to see the sketch line, but I want to know that the fabric is tucked under and in position on the line. It can be a little bit over the line. Now Jessie's bow's got quite a little wriggly edge to it. It's not, you know, a straight little bow. So that gives me a little bit of room to actually manipulate the fabric so that it fits. Straight edges are a little bit trickier to do when you're doing needle turning. So that's just tiny little itty bitty stitches. Let me just look at the camera. Are you seeing that? Yeah. Tiny little stitches catching the edge of that fold, and then back down into the fabric behind the panel. Constantly just checking where you're going to make sure that you're covering the sketch and you're actually catching your fabric as well. It's fiddly, but well worth it, because it just gives a beautiful dimensional look to your piece. And if you go looking on Jessie's Instagram page or even her website, the links and details are in my description. She does this a lot with a lot of her work, and it's just such a unique finish. It's tedious to do because it's so, I don't know, you've got to take your time and get your edges right and all lined up. Tiny itty bitty stitches, but it's so pretty when it's done. So go, if you're new to this, go and have a little look for her bows, because she does this. And it's, like I said, it's nearly her signature. Okay, oops, I've lost my thread. My first needle I picked up was quite a large needle with a reasonable eye, and it's my favorite because it allows my hands to grab it without too much strain on my fingers. And I can do needlework for hours because I'm not gripping a tiny itty bitty thin little needle like this one. But what I found is, because I'm doing such fine work and I'm catching the edge of this fabric, it was too thick. It was like using a barge pole to work with. So I haven't had to go to a needle that you would use for beading, which is super, super fine, and they are very tiring on your hands when you're using them for a period of time. So this is sort of middle of the way, but it's nice and narrow and sharp, so it can easily slide through the edge of that fabric and catch the little seam. Okay, so I'm coming along the top edge now. With the center of this bow, I allowed a little extra there as well, because it's going to need to tuck in I can get rid of that pin now. I think I've got enough stitched down. It needs to tuck in behind the center of the red dot so that it looks like it's part of a turned edge. Does that make sense? I'm just concentrating here a little bit. I want to make sure that that's nicely tucked in there, so bear with me to get that edge. Now I've lost my needle. Oh, goodness me. Just put a pin in there to hold that. So I need to thread my needle. See what I mean by it's fiddly? I see some ladies that do quilts and the whole centerpieces are needle turned edges, and oh gosh, I just admire that work. It's so beautiful. Where's my stitch? There. So I need to come up around there. Yeah, imagine doing a whole quilt like this. Oh, it's not for me. Not for me. I think I'd find it just too much and I'd never finish the piece because I'd lose interest. But incorporating a small element like this into something that is just so random and you're doing all sorts of techniques is a lovely way of at least experiencing the style or technique without committing to a major project. Oh, it's so fiddly. Catching that little seam. Remove that pin. I think you can use those glue sticks for fabric as well, which would hold your edges into position. But I haven't done that this time because it's only a little area and I just wanted to freehand it, so to speak. Okay, catching that little edge. I hope you can see this. I think you get the general gist of it. If you're a little unsure still of what I did and how I'm doing it, just go to YouTube and you will find so many videos of people who do this beautifully and all the time. So it probably wouldn't even hurt to go have a little watch of someone else just to make sure you get the right techniques, because I'd hate to be showing you my version of it and there's actually 20 rules I'm breaking here. I don't think so, but you never know. So that's nearly secure. So I just got to tuck that in a little bit so that I'm just covering the sketch from Jessie's piece. Oh, I hope you can see it. I did zoom in a little extra so that at least got the general gist. But yeah, go and find a video on it. I might even do that myself just to see how close I was to the task, or was I inventing my own version, which often happens, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm now to the center. I'm just going to tuck that in a little bit more to get that real bow shape at the top there, and finish a couple little stitches. So it went reasonably quick. I'm just looking at the camera. Oh, well, not really. That took 13 minutes. I know I did talk for a moment at the beginning. It took 13 minutes just to stitch that bow down. And I'm just placing a couple extra little stitches there in the center just to secure that edge so that it stays there for the next part. Okay. All right, so I'll just leave that thread behind, pop my needle away. So that's it. That's the piece stitched in. So I would then do, the next one would be the top bow here. And then I would do the little bottom pieces. They would come in. I might even tuck one of those tails in underneath, because bows tend to be a little bit dimensional. So maybe I do the tail next, one of the tails, then that goes on top, then the next tail on top of that. Yeah, I might do that. I think that will give it a real shape to the bow. So instead of doing that, I'm going to do the tail next, and then I'll do the ear of the bow, then I'll do the last tail, so I get a bit of a layered effect on it. And then the last piece to finish it will be the little center. Okay. All right, I will leave the video there. I've got a lot of needlework to do. So when I come back, the heart will be completed, and I can then start thinking about this little dress and what I'm going to do with that. Okay, everyone, I will see you in a moment. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm back. Okay, the heart is completed. I'm absolutely stoked with it, considering how much turmoil this heart created. So what I ended up doing first is I finished the bow, as I had just shown you with the needle turned edges. The little flower then went into the middle of the bow. I then went around all of the other little flowers in the heart and finished them off like we've done in the past, just couching the red stranded cotton with some white cotton, adding the little lace detail and a little red bead into the center. I then started the seed stitch in the red all the way around the whole piece, and that took hours. I think I sat down at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, hopped up, cooked dinner, and then finished about 9 o'clock that night. So it just took hours. It did include the start of some seed stitch around this little house. I did then secure down this piece of lace on the side seam, seed stitched in here, and also secured down this doily so that it was in the right position. So it did do a few things. Then for the edge, as I mentioned earlier, I did want to do this lace on the outer edge and then weave through the blue thread that we're using as our outline in and out of the lace, and I'm really happy with that effect. I had planned on going all the way around the heart, but I decided to stop here and then just continue the traditional way of our blue outline around the rest of the heart, and I really liked the effect. I sort of felt like it was getting a little bit girly, childish, like if I was probably 10 and I was doing this embroidery. I wouldn't even thought twice and just put the lace all the way around the heart, but I've decided to stop it, and I sort of liked the effect. The other reason was the lace was crashing into the letter E here, so I sort of thought that maybe that would be a good solution for that as well. So just half of the heart was done and a lot of seed stitch. So yeah, that's it. The heart is completed. I'll just bring it up close again so you can have a really good look at it. Really happy with it. I feel that the piece complements the rest of the panel, and we've had a little bit of a homage to Jessie there with that little bow and her styling. So very happy with that. Okay, I will leave it at that, and the next video will most likely be the dress, unless of course something pulls me in another direction, which you never know with this panel. It's so much fun. Okay, have a good week everyone. See you all soon. Bye.